Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey and ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you shoot them down?
They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Have you been
do you have any reason to think they're...
Meanwhile,
but we've got apparently sightings of many drones the size of SUVs in the sky in New Jersey, and they're like, don't worry about it, leave it up there for 3 or 4 weeks. It's so obviously the Pentagon.
Can I make a confession? Look, I feel that Biden is asleep at the wheel, and I get that it's not just about the president. I get that there are people in the administration who aren't as old as he is and aren't experiencing the cognitive decline that he is. But nonetheless, Biden has proven himself to be so incompetent that I don't feel safe with him at the helm. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course I do. So because look, think about it, guys. That's why I started with enormous incompetence, because even if it's the Pentagon and there's nothing to worry about, which is very likely, why doesn't someone from the White House say that?
Right.
Why are you getting everyone all riled up when you're gonna have to say that at the end anyway? What, are you just gonna let it go forever? Right? Do you think people will be like, don't worry about it, just let the drone tanks fly above our heads and everything will be fine, right? Do you think that Trump won't say what it was when he gets into office a month from now?
All right, guys, so we have to continue our coverage of the drone story, the mysterious drone invasion that is happening all over the United States and apparently all over the world, okay? But the focus has been on the northeast corridor of the United States of America. I think that's where the sightings are the most prevalent right now. New Jersey, New York, Connecticut. There are mysterious drones that are flying around in our airspaces, including military airspaces, with impunity, okay? And the government has no clue what the hell is going on, allegedly, according to them. Although these drones have shut down airports, they have shut down Air Force bases, okay? That has happened. The government says, hey, nothing to worry about. Don't worry about it, nothing to see here. In fact, they're not even drones, they're planes, okay? Don't worry about it, okay? However, the government's actions tell a little bit of a different story, because again, not only did they let one of these drones shut down a military base, which again tells me that it's definitely something to worry about if they're shutting down a military base over drone activity. And also on top of that, they are now giving classified briefings to Congress, right? So they're giving classified briefings to the politicians while also claiming that there's nothing to worry about. Take a look.
Lawmakers are set for a classified briefing about those mystery drones flying over many parts of the East Coast. The Pentagon also set to take questions today at a briefing. It and several other agencies insist these drones don't pose a threat at this time and admit the military is restricted in what it can do until there's proof of a threat. News Nation's Joe Khalil is on Capitol Hill today. Joe, you've been talking to lawmakers about these drones. Have you even spoken to one lawmaker who can give you anything to work with and say what's going on here?
You know, honestly, no, Markey. Every single lawmaker, even those at the very highest levels of the intelligence committees, those members have been really frustrated from the beginning of this episode, because several of them have told us they are either not getting the information. Most truly believed up until yesterday that the White House and several agencies that handle national security simply didn't know what these things were. Now we have a bit more information overnight from the White House and from all of our national security and defense agencies together, putting out a joint statement. So this is the Pentagon, the FBI, the FAA, and Homeland Security all together saying here, quote, "We assess the sightings to date include a combination of lawful commercial drones, hobbyist drones, law enforcement drones, as well as manned fixed-wing aircraft, helicopters, and STARS, mistakenly reported as drones." And it goes on to say, "We have not identified anything anomalous and do not assess that the activity to date presents a national security or public safety risk." So in other words, nothing to see here. Despite that, you can imagine there are still a lot of people who observed these things on the ground, who described seeing these things the size of cars or bigger. Even lawmakers all saying that explanation they just got doesn't exactly quiet their concerns. There is a planned classified briefing for the House Intelligence Committee later on this afternoon today. That is a big deal. Obviously, it's classified, so we won't know in detail what is said inside of that private room. But several occasions, lawmakers will come out after those kinds of briefings and just characterize it. How did you feel? Did you get answers that satisfied you? So hopefully we'll get some of that later today.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get any answers, right? I really don't, okay? But again, the government's actions definitely tell us everything we kind of need to know about what is actually going on, that there's definitely something that people should be concerned about, because, again, you cannot tell us that you don't know what it is and that it's not us and it's not a foreign adversary, but yet, don't be concerned about it, right? We can tell you it's not a threat. Well, how do you know it's not a threat if you don't know who it is, right? If you don't know who it is, how do you know that it's not a threat? It doesn't make sense, right? Something is missing. And again, if it's a nothing burger, okay, why are you having classified briefings with members of Congress? Why are they classified? Why can't you just do a public announcement? Tell everybody the same thing that you're telling the politicians. Now, here's the reality, right? I think the reality is that whatever it is, whether it's us or someone else or something else, right? I don't really know at this point. They're not going to tell anybody the truth. Even the politicians in these so-called classified briefings, they're probably not going to get the truth, right? This government seems to be hell-bent on being the least transparent government in history. And you have people that are genuinely concerned. They're genuinely worried about whether or not this is something dangerous or what is currently happening in our skies that our military doesn't seem to be able to protect. And Biden is asleep at the wheel. Asleep at the wheel. Does anybody have any faith that if a foreign country actually decided to invade this country, which, hey, could already be happening, right? That we would actually be able to defend the American people? I mean, it seems like any of these countries, China, Russia, if they really wanted to, they could just fly a drone with a nuke over the United States of America and be totally fine. The government say, hey, well, we don't know if it's a threat yet. We got to wait. We got to wait to see if it's a threat. We don't know. Okay, we're not going to try to really identify what it is. We're not going to tell you what it is. We just don't know. It's unacceptable. So with that being said, you have a New Jersey mayor who has come out and basically admitted that there is some missing radioactive material, and he is suggesting that there is a potential connection between that and the recent mysterious drone sighting. So this is one possible explanation in regards to what this may or may not be. So let's listen in.
There is growing concern and a demand for answers about the mysterious drones hovering over the tri-state area. In New Jersey, the flying objects have been spotted over residential neighborhoods, restricted sites, even near President-elect Donald Trump's home, and critical infrastructure.
Belleville Mayor Michael Mellum says the drone sightings are creating anxiety in his town, and he's looking for answers. And he joins us this morning right here on Good Day New York. Thank you for joining us, Mayor. You know, President-elect Trump says that the Biden administration knows what's going on. Our government knows what's going on. You're the mayor of Bellevue. What do you know?
We know very little. About 6 days ago, there was an unprecedented briefing with every single mayor in the state of New Jersey, along with every member of our state legislature. We learned exactly at that time what the state knows, which was very little. Since then, information has not been forthcoming. And it's this lack of transparency, in my opinion, that's doing nothing but fueling conspiracy theories online.
Do you have any idea what it could be? Or which side it could be, where it's coming from?
Yeah, I can tell you what it's not. We know for a fact it's not little green men, and more than likely it's not a foreign adversary, because they would be able to figure out how to turn off the blinking lights. These drones are huge. We had a mayor yesterday on the call with the White House telling them that he had 6-foot drones hovering over his house, yet they continue to tell us we don't know what we're talking about. It's misidentification. Certainly there's some misidentification probably going on, but I could assure you that we are seeing drones in New Jersey all over the place.
All right, so Bethany Frankel, I know she's not like, you know, the New York Times, but she says that she has like some kind of contact at the Pentagon and that it has something to do with radioactive material in New Jersey. What are you hearing?
So here's what I know. I know that we were told by our state police that we have assets over our critical infrastructure. Now, depending on your point of view, that's either concerning or comforting. I think it's comforting because it's probably us listening and watching. We also know that we have drones that are flying in a grid-like pattern. In my opinion, they're looking for something. What might they be looking for? Well, potentially, we're aware of a threat that came in through Port Newark. Maybe that's radioactive material. There was and there is an alert that's out right now that radioactive material in New Jersey has gone missing on December 2nd. It was a shipment. It arrived at its destination. The container was damaged and it was empty. So potentially we're looking for that.
Stop right there, Mayor, because that's very important information. And that came from a credible source.
That came from the U.S. government.
And so...
Credible source, right? Is the U.S. government really a credible source? Really?
It's missing?
Missing.
And they think it's in New Jersey, or it could be anywhere?
It was lost in New Jersey, in transit. And again, this is just an example of what I think that we're sniffing for. I think we do have the assets that can go up and fly around and sniff things, which is why we're not seeing the uptick we used to see in Belleville anymore. It's kind of moving, but we're seeing alerts that it's happening now in Pennsylvania.
And that's right about the time that the drone sightings began, right?
Yeah, drone sightings began about 4 weeks ago.
Okay, so when you take a look at this...
Yeah, so that timeline doesn't really add up, right? If the drone sightings began 4 weeks ago and this hazardous radioactive material went missing 2 weeks ago, which would be December 2nd, right? It doesn't really line up. Now, I'm not saying that it's not possible that that is what they're looking for. It is possible. I'm just saying that the hole in this story, the obvious hole in this story, is that the timelines don't match. But that is a plausible explanation of what they're looking for or what they could be looking for and what they're doing. And if that's the case, I don't understand why the government doesn't just come out and say, yeah, we're looking for hazardous radioactive material that got lost, right? We don't know where it's at, but yeah, that's what we're looking for. I think everybody kind of calms down. I think people are obviously worried about the fact that you have this material that went missing, but I think at the very least you can say, well, at least these drones are not China, Russia, ET, right? They're the U.S. government. And hey, the U.S. government allegedly has some pretty neat technology, right? Some pretty good technology, okay? Which, hey, may or may not make some people sleep better at night, knowing that our technology is far superior than we thought, right, in regards to technological advancements. But regardless, that is a better explanation than whatever they're doing right now, which is nothing, okay? But yeah, that is what people have been putting out there, that, hey, they could potentially be sniffing for something.
As if this information is indeed credible, why wouldn't the government say, it's us?
That's the crazy part about this. We've gotten very little information. Even yesterday on that call with the White House, literally mayors were told, you guys are seeing things. There's no credibility to this. We have one mayor, like I said, had drones over his house. I mean, we're no longer going to stand for not hearing the truth. I mean, our state government is failing us. They're not getting the answers from the federal government. And even though yesterday they told us that there's nothing to see here, today there's a top secret briefing going on in Congress. Well, what are they being told that we weren't told yesterday?
Real quick, did you...
Facts. You can't say there's nothing to see here, but at the same time, hey, we're going to hold these classified briefings. Why are you holding classified briefings when there's nothing to see here, right? Clearly, there's something to see here.
No, yesterday when you were on that call about this missing radioactive activity or merchandise, or did you know that this morning after the call?
I was made aware of it yesterday morning. I did raise my hand. We weren't allowed to speak. I did raise my hand, was not called on to get that question answered.
So apparently it is concerning. Even the president-elect, who I'm sure gets some kind of briefings on things, he says he's not going to his home in Bedminster, right?
Yeah, I listened to him yesterday. He no doubt gets the same exact briefings that President Biden gets. He says our government knows. He says our president knows. And he also ended with saying, I'm not going to be in New Jersey this weekend.
So what do you want to know? What do you want the government to tell you and the general public?
I want them to be clear with us. I want transparency. I want them to say these are our assets. There's no need to concern about what's flying. The question should no longer be who's flying these drones or who owns them. It should be what they're looking for. Tell us they're ours. Tell us that they're protecting us, and tell us what the threat is.
Okay, we're coming up on the holidays.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Okay, I'm just saying, these are the same people, this administration, Biden administration, the least transparent administration in history, okay? These are the same people that said inflation was transitory, crime is down, the border is not open, okay? They basically lied about everything. Does anybody believe that they tell the truth about what's going on with these drones, right? This invasion? I don't. I have no faith whatsoever. And it's just crazy to me, like at the end of Biden's presidency, everybody is now frustrated about the lack of transparency. It's like, yeah, well, welcome to our world. We've been frustrated about this for the longest time, right? But this right here really shows the incompetence of the Biden administration, and the backlash is only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. This is like the absolute worst way for them to end a presidency like this. You have people that are starting to panic. There's mass hysteria happening now over these drone sightings, including the former president, who is now the president-elect, saying, well, yeah, I don't necessarily feel safe going to my home, right? I'm not going to go to my home because the drones are in the way, right? And again, these are the same drones that apparently were so dangerous that they shut down a military base. But again, according to the Biden administration, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Nothing to worry about. I'm just saying none of this stuff is adding up. I wish they would come clean, but I don't think they're ever going to come clean. I think that the disclosure, if it ever happens, is not going to be because the government told us. It's going to be because something so crazy is going to happen that people are going to know, okay, this is who is behind this, right? That's what's going to happen, right? That essentially, to me, seems to be what's going to happen here, right? It's going to be forced disclosure. Because the government definitely is not voluntarily giving up the information. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.